free as possible and just kind of introduce you to the basics, all right? So when we're done, you should know the fundamentals, how the technology works, and I hope to introduce you to three use cases, okay? So I have a question for you guys. When I say error, fraud, and inefficiency, what comes to mind?
Uh, well, common problems, I guess, around
Yeah.
systems.
Okay. Okay. And what about you, Eugene? Anything in particular?
Is more easy for money laundering, like for fraud.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay. So basically, error, fraud, and inefficiency are three of the main things that blockchain counteracts, right? So the blockchain itself is a shared ledger for recording historical transactions and tracking assets, okay? It's a shared ledger that is built upon consensus, all right? Okay, so in terms of the key elements of the blockchain, there are three main things that I want you to bear in mind. The first is that this is a distributed ledger technology. So, blockchain is a type of distributed technology, but it's not the only one. Okay. The second main feature is that the records are immutable. And the third is smart contracts. Now, smart contracts is a buzzword at the moment. You may have heard that sort of maybe around Ethereum. Anybody heard of smart contracts?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So smart contracts are essentially these are contracts that are written in code. Okay. And basically, transactions occur and the code is executed based on when that transaction or whatever it is that you set in the code has been met. So let's say Lorenzo and Eugene, you guys have some kind of arrangement whereby at a particular time on a particular day, I don't know, you're going to exchange a certain amount of money or what have you, whatever the transaction is. It doesn't have to be money. I'm just using money as a quick example. That would be written in a code, in a smart contract, and that would be triggered on that particular day at that particular time. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So whenever you write it in the code, that's what would happen. So going back to distributed ledger technology, all right? The way blockchain works is that you have a network of computers, okay? These computers are working to verify and validate transactions, okay? You may have heard of mining in Bitcoin. Think of it kind of like that, just lots of computers connected everywhere. The ledger is shared and there are multiple transactions happening, but all of these transactions are only recorded once in each of these
Mhm.
computers, okay? And the transactions can't be changed or tampered with. So, like if I try to send you something, some money or something, Lorenzo, I can't go back and change it and say, "Oops, I didn't mean to send you that." Once it's gone, it's gone. You know, okay? And then the self contracts are built within the blockchain and have come in really handy with all the different blockchains that are being built like Ethereum and Polkadot and Cardano, etc. Okay, so those are the three main features. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving along, I want to give you guys some quick facts as we go along. So there are approximately, or there were actually approximately 17,000 Bitcoin ATMs available across the world. What do you think about that number? Did you know?
Yep. Uh, I mean, it's a number, right? It's not nor big nor small. I'd say it's yeah.
Really? I was quite impressed. I thought that was a really big number. I was surprised actually. And that is growing because more and more are being added. Most of them are located in North America. The reason why I bring up Bitcoin is because Bitcoin and blockchain are not the same thing. A lot
Mhm.
of people use these terms interchangeably. So, blockchain is the underlying technology that has enabled Bitcoin, the
Yep.
peer-to-peer, distributed ledger technology, but they're obviously not the same thing. And I think sometimes people they're used, like I said, interchangeably in the media, and people often get that confused. So
Mhm.
that's more why I brought that up. Okay, so here are three important factors for you to know as well. These transactions on the blockchain are recorded in blocks. Okay, there's one block in the ahead, and there's one block behind. So each block is connected to the other. And all of the transactions that are occurring in these blocks, like I said, are irreversible. So if you think about that for a second, it's quite powerful, right? And that's why this technology is so important, because think about, for example, how we record, or how we historically, how we've always recorded transactions, right? And the fact that they've been susceptible again to error and fraud and inefficiency. And now we have this technology that's going to enable us to completely remove that, right? So that's really why this is so important and it's being talked about so much. A next quick fact that you should know is that there are 68 million blockchain wallet users as of February of this year, and this number is growing. So think about like MetaMask. How familiar are you with MetaMask?
Not
You know
don't know that.
MetaMask? Pardon? No? Okay, so I've got a MetaMask wallet, right? And it's on my mobile phone. And basically, it's one of the wallets that I use to buy and trade different cryptocurrencies, right? So that's also built on the blockchain. It's safe and secure. I don't store all of my crypto there. I have this is a whole other conversation to have, but I have what's called a cold wallet. So a hot wallet is stored on the internet. So if you've heard of like Binance and Coinbase, you may have seen those in the media. They allow you to store your crypto online. And then you have MetaMask as well, but there's also cold wallets. So in the crypto community, there are terms like no keys, no cheese. That basically means if you don't own your own keys, i.e. you have a cold wallet, then you really don't have your money, because own your own money, because these crypto exchanges they're susceptible to flaws, and your money can be wiped out. So these are different types of wallets that people use to buy, trade, sell, exchange cryptocurrencies. And right now, there are over 68 million people in the. I think actually, I would say there's more than that, but this is perhaps what we know about, because I think mainly in developing countries, mainly in Africa, Nigeria, where you have the largest traders in the world and Bitcoin users, for example, I would say there's more than that. But yeah, the number is growing. Are there any questions? Am I going too fast?
No.
No,
Very
it's
good.
okay. Very good. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's keep going. So basically, this is how a blockchain works. This is the nitty-gritty of the blockchain. Okay, I'll send you these slides later if you can't see sort of the fine details on the screen. But you have the transaction first, and like I mentioned before, there are these blocks. Okay, every block has one before and one after. And through these blocks, there are a series of transactions that are occurring in this massive network. And all of these transactions are being verified by these, what we call nodes in the network, okay? So if I want to send, again, using the example of money, if I want to send money to Eugene, for example, there is a transaction that's initially set off, okay? And then from there, that transaction is then recorded or put into a block. That block is then broadcasted to all the other nodes in the network, okay? And then from there, those in the network start to approve, validate, confirm those transactions, etc. Okay, then that process continues to go along, and that block is then added to the chain, which then provides, again, this sort of, there's a whole concept of proof of work, where every time a node is confirmed within the network, then that block is added, and it keeps going and going and going, and then at some point the money is then sent to whomever. That's a very basic and simplified explanation of how this all works. A hash is produced as well. A hash is unique to that particular transaction, and that's produced right before the transaction is executed. So that's basically how a blockchain works. A perfect example of this is in mining. Mining, human beings aren't actually doing mining. It's just large networks of computers. I'm sure you've heard that the largest group of miners are here in China, at least they were in Xinjiang. And it's just large computers that are just confirming all of these transactions over and over and over and over again, trying to figure out these really complicated mathematical algorithms. So Thanks to the computers, they can do all of this stuff, right? Okay, so there are four main types of blockchains. You have a public blockchain, a private blockchain, a permissioned blockchain, and a consortium blockchain. So the public blockchains are the ones that you're familiar with, the Bitcoins, the Ethereums, the Polkadots, the Cardanos, etc. Okay, those are the ones that anyone can participate in. However, you do have private blockchains. So here where I live in China, for example, there are private blockchains that various cities in China like Suzhou and let's see, Shenzhen, they all have their own private blockchain networks, okay? These are governed by the local municipality or the government or what have you. And you also have corporations like IBM, for example, has their own private blockchain, right? And then you have the permission blockchain. Now, this can be a public blockchain, a public or private institution, okay, that decides that they want to set this up. And for whatever reason, they want to have restrictions. So a perfect example of this could be a hospital, right? Healthcare, you probably wouldn't want to have those records in public. Again, it depends. I know they do in Estonia. Estonia is the world's first e-country. So they use blockchain technology there. If you think about the criminal justice system, that's another example of private institutions using blockchain, and maybe even universities, right? So these are just some examples of how you would have a permission blockchain. And this type of blockchain has properties of both private and public blockchains within it, all right? And then finally, you have the consortium blockchain. So this is the blockchain whereby various organizations would get together and they would then share and manage the responsibilities of that blockchain, and they would give permission to whomever would be required to use those blockchains and facilitate transactions or what have you. So are there any questions about the four types of blockchains?
No.
For private blockchain, is it CBDC, right? CBDC.
Yeah, basically the central bank. Oh my God, central bank digital coins. I may be saying that wrong, but yeah, they're basically. They're not cryptocurrencies, but they are built on a blockchain. Yes, but they're not cryptocurrency. They're just digital money. So that is the difference.
All right.
Yeah. So for example, if a digital, let's see who's like, okay, here in China, for example, also in the Bahamas, they have their own central bank digital currency, CBDCs. Those aren't cryptocurrencies. That's just digital money that's built on a blockchain. So it's completely different. And there's a lot of apprehension towards those because they are still technically centralized, right? So your money is still sort of at the helm of a centralized organization, which is why many people go for Bitcoin in the first place. But that's a completely separate argument depending on who you speak to. But yeah. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Nothing else. Here in China, we have there's a city in China called Suzhou here in Jiangsu province, and the entire city has its own blockchain, which is really cool. And down in Shenzhen as well, and they have airdrops that they do, and you can use the digital currency, digital yuan, to pay for things, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So yeah. Okay, so I want to make this interactive, so I'm not talking at you for the whole time. So I want to throw out a few questions here. So firstly, do you guys believe that blockchain democratizes trust?
I mean, in my opinion, if it is totally decentralized, we can be fairly sure that it does that. So it democratizes trust. But not mistaken, when a single party has more than, I think, 50% of the power, then that can be hijacked as well. So I'd say up to a point, we can be fairly sure about that. But I'd be very skeptical about the use of blockchain in private context, right? Like the examples you were making. Suchan maybe and Shenzhen?
Oh, Suzhou, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So pretty cool idea. Very nice to kind of, I don't know, have a sort of a local decentralized system, maybe we can call it that way, which could be pretty useful in case of, I don't know, like natural disaster and this kind of thing. But again, it goes a bit against the use of a decentralized network, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Eugene?
I think blockchain can democratize trust, like peer-to-peer transfer, right? You don't need any third party, right? Yeah, that's what I know.
You see, I think so much of blockchain and its use it depends on where you are in the world. When you come out here to the Far East in a country like China, long story short, like Chinese people sort of trust their government, right? And they believe in their government. It's just kind of like how it works here, right? And so having a centralized blockchain is not necessarily an issue, because I think Chinese people will always prioritize economics over anything else. But then if you go to the Western world, it's like a completely different conversation, because in the West, it's more about your privacy. And I think that is then prioritized over other things, right? So I think culture and obviously the different government systems and obviously economics, if you're in sub-Saharan Africa or in certain parts of Southeast Asia or the Caribbean or Latin America, then that's a completely different conversation too, right? So I think the part about trust being democratized, it just depends on how trust is viewed in the society where it's being used, and then how the people use it, Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. So I think the democratization of trust factor is really nuanced. Like if you throw that out to someone in the US versus someone in Venezuela, you're probably going to get two separate answers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Or even in like Nigeria or Lebanon or Vietnam or whatnot. So that's always a interesting conversation to have. In terms of decentralization on the blockchain, do you sort of understand what that means? Like real decentralization on the blockchain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We the middleman.
Basically. And I think the future lies in eliminating the middleman, to be honest. That's probably a lot of people don't think that's a good idea, but I think well, specifically if you're talking about like supply chains in business, obviously there are many advantages to being able to, for example, buy directly from a manufacturer or from a producer than having to go through a middle person that manipulates prices or controls prices, right? So like in instances like that, I think it can be quite beneficial. But otherwise,
yeah, I still believe there will be instances in which some sort of middleman will be necessary. If you think about financing big projects, like for example, national level projects, I find it quite unlikely that as a, say, private company, you would, I don't know, maybe raise money from many different people just because to some extent it's easier to have a middleman that would guarantee you, say, I don't know, up to $100 million $100 million like dollars or whatever you want, rather than raising $100 million from many different people, right? You don't quite know if you will reach that target. You don't know if there are enough people willing to project and these kind of things. So I guess it depends. For many things, I can see how decentralization will work better than now.
Yeah. Do you centralization varies depending on the industry? Like I don't know how familiar you guys are with Estonia, but they're like this completely e-country, and they use all the disruptive technologies, and the entire country is like built on blockchain, right? So everyone has access to their data, everything is public. I mean, I know Estonia is a tiny country, so they're more agile and they can experiment more. But do you think like that kind of decentralization can be replicated, or it can be different for other countries that want to achieve true decentralization?
Personally, I think it can be replicated. It is also true that Estonia is a bit of an exception. First of all, because as a matter of fact, there are no other countries like Estonia. And the second point is that they kind of started from scratch, from a blank paper after basically the USSR, right? So this is not the case for most of the big countries. Well, actually, for most of the other countries in the world, right? If you think about other countries, it's pretty hard to turn over a whole lot of bureaucracy offices and this kind of the legacy system. Basically, the legacy system is a big incumbent. It's very hard to change that.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
I think for countries that don't have legacy systems, which tend to be third world, countries in the developing world, or countries in, that had a war, or like you said, Estonia was created after the dissolution of the USSR, so they had a blank slate. So like countries that have just come out of those types of extreme situations definitely have an advantage. Yeah. Okay, what do you think, Eugene? Are you familiar with Estonia? They're quite a revolutionary country in Europe. Yeah, you should check them out.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out. I think Estonia is going to be a blueprint for maybe for small countries as well, like small states. But they're doing some really interesting things up there. Okay, and consensus. Okay, consensus is a very important part of the blockchain protocol, because it basically means that there must be an agreement that these transactions are actually real, they're valid, and they've been verified. I just want to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding of the importance of consensus as well within blockchain. Yeah?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's keep going. Right, here's another quick fact. For you guys, if you're interested in a career in this field, maybe you might want to get into this at some point. The market is expected to grow to 39.7 billion by 2025. And these are just projections. So that gives you an idea of where we're going with blockchain. And I have another quick fact coming up that actually shows you that blockchain skills are in high demand, but there aren't enough qualified people out there to meet that demand. So something to think about. You never know, right? Okay. Are there any questions, comments, or ideas at the moment, or anything that you want to share based on what I've shared thus far?
Yeah, one question from my side would be, where would you start to learn more in order to become better? What would be your first step?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say if you want to be a blockchain developer, I would say the first thing you need to do is, there's different elements to blockchain. Like there's the technical side, but there's also the economic, political, and social side, which sometimes people tend to miss. So I think a good starting point is Consensus. Have you heard of Consensus? They have, Consensus has a lot of courses that you can take. They also have a blockchain boot camp. If you're already, I think you're already a full stack developer, right, Lorenzo? So
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Mainly with JavaScript. So, for example, another question would be, what is the main language behind that? Would it be C maybe, or
Yeah.
By the way, sorry, since we're talking about that, could you drop the link to Consensus that you were mentioning?
Sure. I will. Let me just make sure that Consensus is great. There's also the blockchain Institute. I don't know if you've heard of them. So basically, all of these, okay, here's consensus. Basically, all of these guys are offering sort of quick boot camps, right? And like in your situation, since you are already a full stack, there's consensus. Since you are already a full stack developer, what you would need to do is just you would need to start learning Solidity and Go. Those are the two programs that allow you to build smart contracts, right? So if you wanted to build smart contracts, you would go there. If you want to be a blockchain architect, which is a little bit different, a blockchain architect is the person that communicates between, they act as sort of the middle person between the developer / engineer and businesses. So they offer solutions, the blockchain architect. So I would look at consensus. I would look at the blockchain. Let me give you the blockchain institute. There is also a lot of really cool hackathons that you should join, like, because that's basically where you get to meet other blockchain enthusiasts. And sometimes just jumping in and working on a project is the best way to learn. So there's these Hack Money hackathons that are put on by the Ethereum Foundation, for example. Ethereum Foundation, if you're interested specifically in a certain kind of blockchain, you could go for Ethereum. That's also really good. There's also Kernel. Let me put Ethereum Foundation here for you. Ethereum Foundation. There's the Kernel. And there's this guy on YouTube. He is amazing. Okay, Eugene has shared something. It might be the same guy. I might have to share it with you, Lorenzo, in the Discord. I have it in in my file somewhere. But he does these amazing YouTube videos strictly for how to become a blockchain developer. It has like over 1 million views, and everything from the beginner who's just starting out to someone like yourself who's already a full stack developer.
Sure.
So being full stack is really easy. You just need, and also there are some simple apps that you can, I think, is it, what's that company in Europe called? Is it Lewagen or something that offers Golang and Solidity? So yeah,
No,
well, let me put that in. Have you heard of Go and Solidity? I'll put those in the chat as well. Okay, so that's where, those are some resources that I would start with in terms of like the technical side. But beyond that, I would say podcasts, newsletters, places like Decrypt. Have you heard of Decrypt? These are all great like news sources for just getting in sort of to understand the industry. CoinCap Market is a great resource. I've got a list of them that I can send, that I can put together. I know all of them.
Hey, I really need to drop now. Sorry.
I got it. No worries. But I'll send you a list later on. I can message you or send you a list in the Discord and you can get started. Thank you so much for joining.
Sure. Thank you.
Take care.
This was a great introduction.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Eugene.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, okay, Eugene. So yeah, do you have any questions or anything at the moment?
No.
No?
I mean,
okay,
like,
awesome.
Can I have a question, like how do consensus work? Because I read through mostly like by the Me blog. They like two-party exchanges, then consensus is made. I'm not really sure. I think so. Yeah.
So you want to understand how consensus works? Okay. Well, in the network, remember, you have various computers in this network, right? So they, unless, and they're all trying to figure out these computations, unless they actually confirm and agree that this transaction actually happened. And remember, there's all these computers all over the world, all these nodes confirming these transactions. So until all of the networks actually agree, this transaction has happened, this is real, this is valid, it can't actually be confirmed. And that's what makes the blockchain so unique, in that it requires that consensus. It's not controlled by one person or two people, and it's all computational. So I mean, the idea of it being prone to error or flaw is kind of really low, really unlikely.
I see. I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, consensus is a big part of it. They all have to agree. They all have to agree before things can move forward. Okay, so I want to move on to the next slide. Here we go. Blockchain skills are ranked as the top fastest growing skill in 2021. So if you want to become, are you interested in becoming a developer or an engineer, Eugene?
Yeah, my first approach, my plan was, is to become a software engineer first, then
Yeah,
involved in blockchain.
yeah.
I'm still a high school student, which I'm learning like full stack engineering on Codecademy and front-end
Nice.
master.
Nice. Oh, you're in high school, Eugene?
Yeah, yeah.
Bloody hell, really?
Yeah. I'm 17
Amazing.
this year.
Oh my God. You know, that is amazing. The younger, the better. Brilliant, brilliant. I mean, I am a little bit older than you, and I only got into the tech scene, like really into tech last year. And I think that if you can start, now, and it's great that you're in high school. So you have the time to do all of this in addition to your studies?
Yeah. I
Good for
can
you.
like mostly have time to learn coding.
Nice, nice. And are you in your final year in high school?
Yeah, final year.
Okay, awesome. Very good. Well done. Well done. So you're gonna love this. This is a good industry for you. Okay.
I started
So yeah,
I
go
started
ahead.
back in last year. Like when the
Nice.
pandemic.
Yeah, in Malaysia. Yeah,
Yeah.
Malaysia is, you're so close to us here in China. Malaysia and China are like cousins, A lot of
Yeah.
Chinese people
Malaysia know
migrated.
how to speak Chinese also.
Yeah, do you speak Chinese?
Yeah.
Oh, very well, or 一点儿
一
ma?
点点，一般啦。
Ah, so you went to Chinese school?
Yeah. We have
You,
Chinese school in Malaysia here, like until
I know.
university.
Yeah, my colleagues from Malaysia have told me that, like, some of them just went to Chinese school, some of them went to Malay school. It's so interesting how you can select what school you want to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on
Even
language.
like
That's
if
cool.
you are different religion, right? We don't care what religion you are, you still can enter Chinese school, any school you want basically. Like we don't look at religion or skin color those.
Yeah. So your background, is your family Chinese?
Yeah, Chinese.
Chinese Malay, yeah. Like I'm probably from the southern part of China, right? Like Guangdong province or Fujian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Okay, what I wanted to do now was just quickly share some use cases. Now, they're very, very short videos. I had the option of having us watch the videos. Like this one is like 2 minutes or something, and then asking some questions or just speaking through it. But I think since it's just you and I, we can watch it. It's really tiny. I hope you can see it. This one is about 5 minutes. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see.
Let me know. Can you hear it?
No.
But you can't hear it. Okay.
Can't hear it.
Let me see if there's some subtitles. Okay. Let's see if this works. Can you see the subtitles going?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to give you an overview of what this is a use case of how blockchain is being used in the healthcare industry to fight and prevent counterfeit drugs. Are you familiar with counterfeit drugs?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we can check this out and just read the subtitles. Or probably what I could do is send you the link to the video. It might be more useful. I'll send you the link to the video and then you could always watch it later. But basically, I can talk you through this. What it is counterfeit drugs are a big problem, a $1 billion problem. Actually, most of the counterfeit drugs are produced here in Asia, in China, in India, in Indonesia, and they're sent all over the world, sadly, all over the world, usually to third world countries, where people can't really afford anything else. And what's happening now is blockchain is being used to confirm the authenticity of the real drugs. So in this instance, it's being used at hospitals and with doctors. But I know there's startups, like I met a guy who runs a startup in Nigeria, And what he does is he has like a QC code that he has developed. And what he does is he sells the technology to like pharmacies and to stores and what have you, right? And then that allows them to track where their stuff is going. And the consumer can also download the app and scan the actual merchandise or product and see if it's the real thing, which is quite cool. And if it's not the real thing, then they can return it to where they got it from, or they can make an official complaint to the manufacturer and say, hey, do you know that your products are being sold, counterfeit products are being sold in the black market? So it's really helpful because fake drugs kills millions of people every year, like all over the world.
So basically, developer made a QR code like for everybody to track the products, right?
Yeah, that's one way you can do it. So basically, it's all about tracking, right? So depending on how you choose to track, you can track by creating a specific, generating some kind of unique code or hash, for example, for each product, and then have that then recorded in this ledger. That's one way of doing it. It depends on who the end user is, right? If it's a doctor or a pharmacy, they're probably gonna interact with it in a different way to say the consumer, right? Because the consumer probably just wants, like how we have WeChat over here where you can just scan. That's probably the easiest way for the consumer. But maybe in a business or in a hospital, it might be used in a completely different way. But yeah, that's basically what they're doing. They're recording all the authentic drugs with a unique code and ensuring that everybody who has access to the drugs knows that this is the real thing and that it's not fake.
Blockchain is very disruptive though. Like Katie would have said before, like yeah, many like AI, machine learning, those are very disruptive also, including blockchain and robotic.
Yeah, we call them ABCD: AI, blockchain, cloud, data, robotics, AR, VR. Like all of these technologies are disruptive because they're really changing how we live and how we do things, and for the better, hopefully for the better. So I'm really excited about it. So the next question I have here is the next slide I have is can you think of how blockchain can be used in another way to fight counterfeit drugs outside of QR codes and unique hashes and that kind of thing?
Not really sure though.
Yeah, it's one of those things to think about because I think that it just depends. Like, okay, it's not just say counterfeit drugs, but maybe just general counterfeit products. Maybe, you can find ways to support it more from a business side because businesses are losing millions a year because of counterfeit drugs. So maybe there's a way to be able to even develop a database of just the fake stuff. And then you just scan against the fake stuff. Like, who knows? There's so many ideas out there, right? So there's a lot. A second use case, which is more applicable to you, Eugene, is in education. Blockchain is used in education to, for example, record diplomas. A lot of schools have fake diplomas, a lot of fake schools. You can record diplomas, you can record grades, you can record transcripts. So many schools and educational systems around the world are putting things on the blockchain. So I think this is quite revolutionary in that imagine you're graduating from high school soon and you're going to go to university. And wouldn't it be convenient if, say, you wanted to go to university outside of Malaysia, that any university anywhere in the world could have access to a public ledger that has, your stuff? Like you would agree that you want it there. And that would open so many possibilities for you because, a lot of the times people don't go to university because they say they can't pay or they didn't know that a university exists. but you have so many universities around the world that may be looking for a student just like you, and maybe they want to give you a scholarship or give you an opportunity or something. And if your transcripts are in a public ledger, they have access to that, right? And it can't be changed, so it's not like someone can tamper with your data. So that's really cool.
I see.
Yeah. Also, like here in China, I work in a school and I spend so much time grading and marking papers. I mean, if I can have AI, for example, to do the marking for me, and then that all of that can be recorded in a ledger somewhere, that'll be brilliant because, in schools where you have a lot of cheating, this can be problematic. And then you have more proof for admin, for students, for parents that, hey, this is real, this is the real stuff, this is the real grade. It makes teachers more accountable because if I know that whatever I put in a database for a student can't be changed, I'm probably gonna be much more scrupulous about my grading. So I think it forces everybody to be more efficient. Yeah.
China has the like hardest exam, right? Gaokao.
对。Gaokao, yes, it's the one of the hardest exams in the world. Really. Yeah.
Do you see students like struggling doing?
Yeah, I mean, I teach at a private school, and the truth is, the people that come to the private schools they come because they can't make it in a Chinese public school. That's the truth, because it's hard. It's really hard. So their parents have money, right? So their parents are like, okay, we're gonna put you in like a private international school, but the kids in the public school, wow, it's nonstop work. It's a lot of studying. It's hard. It's hard. And the thing is, if you don't get a good grade, if you don't pass Gaokao, your options for your life are limited. You might end up going, like university placements are based on how good your grades are, not necessarily what you want to study. So if you want to study engineering, but your grades aren't good for engineering, you might get stuck going to university having to study English because your grades weren't good enough. So the Gaokao really determines your life. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. And the competition is stiff. Really stiff. I mean, it's
different than the outside world.
I mean, China is a whole other animal, like kids are studying morning, noon, and night. They get tons of homework. They're up until midnight, sometimes 1 a.m. doing homework. It's insane. It's no joke over here in China. That's all I gotta say. When you come out of a Chinese high school, a public high school, you've either you're incredibly bright, or you're just or you're not bright at all and you just kind of barely passed. But it's like they take no prisoners. It really separates the weak from the strong, a Chinese public school. It really, really does. And it's like, if you don't do well, like your life is ruined, so you've got to work hard and study hard, and you spend your whole academic life just preparing for Gaokao. It's insane. It's insane. It's really insane.
I think that's why many like Chinese people go to Western countries and study.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they have the money. Yeah.
They have the money. The ones that do have the money and they have that option. But this is a small group of people. The average Chinese person doesn't have that option. So they gotta work hard, to try to get into a good university at home. So, but one thing's for sure, if you come out of a Chinese public school and you have good grades, you can make it in the West because you have a good foundation. Definitely. I mean, you may how to at least take tests. I mean, a lot of the critical thinking may not necessarily be there, but you know how to study and you know how to take exams, which is important. So, yeah. I was gonna ask, what do you think generally about blockchain as a use case in education, like coming from Malaysia and being a student yourself?
I think like maybe implement some technology like how to say like maybe like how do I say that like maybe like on like teacher, I guess Like most of the school have their own iPad,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we can implement the QR code right there and see what student is doing. Maybe in the class. Maybe they are watching YouTube in the class.
So you mean like the tracking? I know there's a tracking system like that I've heard in some schools here as well, where you get to see like how much time kids are spending doing certain things. I think that has its pros and its cons. Like not everybody wants to be tracked. But yeah, it depends.
Maybe can use like in like physical activities, like we implement blockchain in physical activities so that they can't like manipulate the score. And we use like AI and machine learning to record the match.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, that's a good example actually. That's a good example. And then the final example I wanted to show you, Eugene, was blockchain in energy. This is one I'm still learning about myself, like familiarizing myself with it, but I think it's basically using the blockchain in grids, so to make sure that everybody has access to clean energy. So this is one I think is definitely worth exploring as well, especially now as we want to get turn more towards renewable sources of energy. So yeah, the blockchain would be used to store the data, the energy data in the grids apparently. So I think this is also a really interesting use case that can be explored. And to be honest, there's so many other use cases, whether it's finance, health, real estate, insurance, education, energy, there's music, art. I mean, look at NFTs, right? There's so many use cases of how blockchain is being used, and that's beyond Bitcoin. So there is a lot of potential, there's a lot of opportunity in terms of what this technology can do. And to have a conversation about blockchain is to also understand that you would then need to integrate it with cloud and data, because all of this data can't just be stored on its own. So it's got to be integrated with other technologies as well, or with AI. So yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things happening in the space. So we've gotten near the end. We only have 8 minutes left, which is great. We're on target. So what I want to recap and share with you is that basically blockchain, the key takeaways from today is that it's incorruptible, it's decentralized, it's safe, it's quick, it's based on consensus, and it's a distributed ledger. So that makes it decentralized. So there isn't one central ledger that's controlling everything. It's distributed to different networks, right? And these are sort of the key properties of blockchain. And we also have Front End Marathon, which kicks off this evening and goes for the whole week. And then we have the
I saw that.
Bitcoin. Yeah, then we have the Bitcoin White Paper Jam, which is coming up next month. So as the chapter leader, I'm trying to do a combination of technical as well as non-technical events, because like I was saying to Lorenzo, there's more to blockchain than just the tech. Also the socioeconomic and historical aspects as well, which I think are key if you really want to understand sort of how this technology and why it's so revolutionary, and for different people in different parts of the world as well. So yeah.
I have a question, like where do you learn blockchain? Like, do you mostly learn from blogs
Myself?
or buy Udemy courses? Yeah.
Oh, I basically it's like I'm into everything, Eugene. Like I listen to loads of podcasts. I read books. I take classes, courses. I go on Twitter. I follow people. Like everything you can think of, I do it. So I have like various books that I try to read. One of the things I was wondering if people wanted was if like some kind of mastermind where we just focus on the learning part, because I think books, blogs, podcasts and various schools and institutes are great places to learn. Like, I wouldn't say there's one place, because like I learned so much basically on podcasts. I have to be honest, because all of the greatest minds in this space have podcasts, and they use it to educate, and they also interview all of the big names, which is fantastic. And then there's magazines and blogs where they're updated on a regular basis. So I'm finding out about everything happening in technology, this technology around the world. And then to understand the basics of the tech, there's Binance, as you know, there's Consensus, there's the Blockchain Institute, there's books. So everywhere, everywhere, Eugene, everywhere. Depending on what I want to know, it's a daily thing, because I think I am a newbie, and I feel like because this space is so young, like there aren't really any experts just yet. Like, we're all learning. So I'm always trying to improve my knowledge. I mean, creating this, for example, the Codecademy blockchain chapter was one way that I wanted to kind of like keep my learning going as well, in addition to gaining the coding skills. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I'm also like I've opened a chapter for Kuala Lumpur, like more to learning. Like
Yeah.
I'm opening like one event, like I teach JavaScript.
Wonderful. No, that's good.
Like
Eugene, to teach is to learn. So if you can teach people things, that means you learn it yourself. And that's how you learn, by teaching. Because if someone says, Joanne, what's blockchain? And I think I know, but then I can't explain it to them, that means I really don't know. But if I can sit there and tell you what blockchain is and how it works, then I'm teaching you because I know it myself. And as I teach it to you and you ask me questions, it forces me to think more and to, really go deeper. So I believe it's the best way. Like, definitely you should do it.
yeah.
Definitely.
I also get myself more into blockchain. I want to know more about it.
Yeah, just remain curious. There was an email I sent out a few weeks back when I first started this chapter, where I included just loads of resources for blockchain. I'm going to write another blog soon where I'm going to include that, as well as some additional resources, so that people kind of know where to go to find stuff. Because I think there's a lot out there and folks don't always know where to start. So yeah.
Do you plan to open a Discord channel for your chapter?
I don't know. I'm not ready to do that just yet, because I feel like the chapter is small, and like with these events, right? Like tonight, 21 people signed up, but only 2 of you showed up. And this seems to be a consistent theme in the chapter, because my chapter is mostly professionals and a few younger persons. And I think a lot of them sign up with good intentions, but then they don't always show up. So I'm not sure if having a Discord would be helpful, because a lot of the times people aren't active. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think a Discord would be beneficial?
Maybe as you get big, I think, because
I
people
think
get
more
active.
people. Yeah. I think right
They
now.
join you.
Awesome. I think right now I'm okay with the Asia Discord, because it's like, people, it's just small groups of people, and I try to send out blogs and so on. But I don't think I have the numbers or the engagement yet to open a Discord. But, if things grow and things start to get better and more active, definitely. Also, I don't have a co-leader with me. Like when I first started out, it was Kresna. But then Kresna got a job as a CTO. He was based in Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah.
Yeah, and then he got a job and he got really busy, so he couldn't participate anymore. So I think it's always better, like, if I could get, 2 more people to join me and we can like build a chapter together, that'd be incredible. Because then it's like three people doing the work. But right now, since it's just me, like, it has its challenges. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But if I get a co-leader or somebody else on board, I would definitely do a Discord as well, because a Discord needs management. You need someone to manage it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait,
But
I must share you.
yeah, you know what? That's it for tonight. So I would love your feedback. Was there anything that you thought I should have changed about tonight? Do you felt like you learned more? Did you think it was beneficial?
Yeah, I learn more about blockchain, to be honest. Like, I listen to what you are saying. I also do
Awesome.
watch YouTube. Wait, I think I will send you one video about, like, Cathie Wood speaking about disruptive technology.
Awesome.
And
I
open
love it. I'm happy. As long as you learned something, Eugene, I'm happy. That's my intention. So now you know the fundamentals of the technology. You know the basics. I mean, at least you know, like, because I think a lot of people get caught up in the like hype of Bitcoin and crypto, but they don't always understand what exactly is this technology. Yeah, and I think we need to be more educated consumers. We need consumers that really understand tech and how it works, you know. I realize that, you know, I use WeChat all the time. Okay, fine. I don't need to know the tech behind WeChat, but I think I would be empowered if I knew how WeChat actually worked. Because a lot of the times we just consume stuff, but we don't really get how it works. And I think the consumer of the future wants to know how the tech works, and they want to be more clued up, because they understand that, you know, we live in an era of data, and all of these super apps are taking our data. Where's our data going, right? And how is it being used?
Data is the digital oil of 21st century.
Absolutely. I love that description. It is the digital oil of the 21st century. And I think because of that, as consumers, we need to understand more of technology. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing for today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you can join us at one of the front end development editions, or maybe at the white paper. We're gonna jam on the white paper. It'll be fun. The whole idea is we're just gonna have different people coming together, and we're gonna share our ideas and our perspectives. A lot of the guys, two of the guys doing it with me are Indian, so they're gonna also share about like the banning of Bitcoin in India and from their perspective. So I think it's just a great way to get together and share ideas around like the white paper. A lot of people don't read the white papers, and I think it's so powerful to read these white papers, because this is how you find out about the companies. Who are the companies? What are they doing? Why are they doing these things? What problem are they solving? So a lot of people are into crypto and they've never read the Bitcoin white paper. And I feel like everything started with the white paper. So you got to understand, you know, what was Satoshi or these group of people, what were they really trying to get at? And the truth lies in the white paper.
I see. I think I will be joining the Bitcoin white paper. Yeah.
Awesome. I think it'll be helpful to you. Yeah. And it'll be fun. You'll get to hang out with some other Code Academy chapter leaders as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Eugene. Have a wonderful evening. It was so good to chat with you, and I can't wait to see you again. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks for sharing for today's session. Yeah. Bye.
My pleasure. Bye bye, Eugene. Bye bye.